Welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 23. I'm going to guess because I don't actually know. But this is Talking with Your Grandpa Before He Croaks. Welcome, welcome. I hope if you're having breakfast, I hope it's enjoyable. I hope if you're on a walk that it is beautiful out, whatever that is to you. And I hope if you're on your way to work that you are doing something that you at least semi-enjoy. Regardless, we have a new topic to talk about today, and this one is very pertinent to the circumstances around us. Roe v. Wade, abortion, and women. Because what does two straight white men have anything to say about that? So I'm gonna let you start it off because you have way more info about this than I do.
Okay, well, I also am going to talk about what two straight white men have to say about what's happening and what can happen if the abortion laws go through.
Right.
First of all, I remember prior to Roe v. Wade, how it was when you had a girlfriend and, God forbid she got pregnant and she had to go for an abortion, but she couldn't go for an abortion because it was inappropriate and against the law. Then we had, doctors who wouldn't give abortions.
Right.
Now, we all know that everybody has an opinion, and you know what my statement is about opinions. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has an asshole. But again, with Roe v. Wade, there's pro-life, there's pro-choice. When Roe v. Wade was passed, it said that women had control of their bodies and that they could do what they chose to do in regard to abortion. And it was a good thing because you didn't find women who got pregnant and young women didn't want to tell their parents, because every religion has different beliefs as to when a baby is born. Is it born from conception or is it created at birth? I mean, is it created at conception or at birth?
Right.
And young women wouldn't, a lot of them didn't feel comfortable telling their parents. They felt ashamed. So they'd go to a place, and a lot of them would be operated on by people who were less than doctors, and for the rest of their lives, perhaps had damage to their internals, and they couldn't have children later on in their life when they wanted to have children. Or even worse, some women who were afraid to do that would use hangers and stick a hanger up their private.
Right. Yeah.
So what we have now is a situation where it's divided again. Everything in the United States seems to be divided these days, where they want to do away, it seems, with Roe versus Wade. Now, I have always been pro-choice with addendums. In Florida, we have a 15-week rule that you have to, you could have an abortion up to 15 weeks. To me, I don't want to have a woman having an abortion at 8 months, because to me, even though I'm pro-choice, I think that baby is really formed. I was an 8.5-month baby.
Yeah,
So,
I think we've had that talk before where I think on the podcast we've had that talk where, like, after a certain period it should be an issue. Granted, we established in that episode too that, first of all, we're not doctors. We don't know where that establishing line is and whether that's even the right answer. But I agree with you there and mind you, I am all for their body, their choice. I'm 100% for pro-choice. If they want to do it at 9 months, I'm not going to be happy about it, but I'm also going to vote to give them that choice because I'd rather them have that choice than not have a choice.
Okay,
So
yeah, that's where we disagree. There are
yeah,
addendums to my pro-choice, but
right.
that's what I'm not basing this podcast on. My podcast is we're going back in time. If they get rid of Roe versus Wade, what's the next thing they're going to get rid of? Could they get rid of women's voting? Can
Right.
they get rid of same-sex marriage?
Yeah.
Can they get rid of interracial marriage? They're talking about possibly, would they get rid of day after contraception, the pills, or would they get rid of a woman wearing whatever she has to wear to prevent getting pregnant,
The IUDs.
IUDs? Would they then decide, well, you know what? Each state can do what they want, and I don't know if I'm opposed to that because I don't like the federal government telling us what we could do. So, I was speaking with my neighbor. He says it should be up to the state. I don't even agree with that. But could they then say, well, let's overturn the Brown versus the Board of Education?
Right.
And then
Yeah, the problem is it's a stepping stone. The moment we do one of them, Roe v. Wade, all of a sudden, all these other ones from around that same time, everyone's going to start wanting to revisit because they go, oh, well, we got this one. Let's try and get those.
Yeah. And there was just a movie made. I don't know how popular it was because the topic wasn't popular, but it was called Loving. And it was about this couple, Loving, having a lawsuit against the state of Virginia. It was 1967. They were an interracial couple and they could not travel from state to state.
Oh, yeah, because of sundown towns and things like that.
We also have, are these two cases that the Supreme Court ruled about respectively, that laws banning interracial marriage, are they a violation of the Constitution? Same-sex couple having a right to marry in accordance with the 14th Amendment. Are we going to change interpretations of everything that is held fast? In talking to people, some have said to me, well, laws change because better laws take place of bad laws. And again, now we go back to what is a good law and what is a bad law. Is Roe versus Wade a good law? Is Roe versus Wade a bad law? I have friends who are same-sex marriage. All of a sudden, what would happen if they say it's not legal?
Right.
Jack Johnson was a heavyweight fighter, in I think the early 1900s. And I think he was arrested. There were people arrested, a black man married to a white woman, going from state to state. So if we start going with states having their own set of bylaws, I mean, that might be better than the federal government saying, you have to do this. But if states have their own set of bylaws, there's still an out. I mean, if New Jersey said you can't have abortions and New York said you can go from, a person could drive if they could afford to go from New Jersey to New York and have an abortion.
Well, see, but that's the problem. See, there's so many things going on. Some of these states are creating laws that say if you travel to a state that is legalizing, that allows abortion, we will have an issue with that state. So let's say you live in one state and you go to the next one. The state that finds abortion illegal, they will demand your medical records from that state. And if they find that you went and got an abortion, you and that medical establishment they will try to put you in court or whatever, or try you for murder. And it's awful. And something I was reading as well is, one of these Christian red states is trying to get IUDs to be tried as murder. So by putting in that device to stop your it's basically a long-term condom. Instead of using a condom, you put this device in and it stops the flow. Not the flow of the period, but like we get it. These states are trying to say that if you have one, you can be tried for murder. That's crazy. That's obscene.
That's the way it was prior to Roe versus Wade.
Well, but and I think one of the occurring themes out of a lot of things that you were saying, to me at least, is part of the issue is that we keep looking at the old documents from 50 years ago to 100 years ago to 150 years ago. We are continuously basing our existence in the 21st century off of a piece of paper that a bunch of really rich white guys with slaves wrote for themselves, not women, not the slaves, not for anyone but themselves. And we're still trying to base America off of that. And that's an issue because just like your friend, we need to update our laws. And part of that requires updating the original documents because those original documents don't work. They don't work. There's more complex issues now. There's more people now. And there's different people now because it was written for white men. And now we have women, surprise, oh my God. And people of color, oh my God. And people of other genders. Whoa, like it doesn't cover any of that. And it's such an issue. It needs to be updated. One of my favorite things that I learned about, I think it was a couple of years ago, and then I saw it again recently, is that there was like a voting system that occurred across the globe at some major meeting. And one of the things that they were voting on was that should food be a human right? Should food be a human right? Whether you can or cannot afford it as a country or wherever, different conversation. But is food a human right? The US was apparently the only place that said no. The only place that said no.
So I'm a little confused. Do you oppose or agree or want to update?
I think food is a human right. I think food is.
I'm talking about, do you oppose or agree or want to update Roe versus Wade?
So let me full circle then. The point I'm making with the whole food thing, the food is a human right, is the US, for whatever reason, doesn't value the people that hold it up. For whatever reason, food is not a human right. And there's plenty of other issues that are going on. But that is an example of what I'm getting at with the Roe versus Wade. The Roe versus Wade thing, I think was a stepping stone at the time, and it needs to be updated. When I say updated, I mean further down the path of Roe v. Wade. What a lot of these Christian old men are doing is wanting to revert it back to when they had more power and control. That's all it is. That's purely what it is. And anyone who says otherwise is an absolute ignoramus. Because if you want to argue it's under God and whatever bullshit, no offense to your religion, but if I don't follow it, it shouldn't be in my politics. That's what we preach, and we specifically teach not to do, is to put your religion and politics in the same case. Because I guarantee you, if anyone but a Christian white guy or woman was implementing their religion into our politics, they'd probably be assassinated. If someone came in court and started talking about Islam or talking about Hindu gods or Buddha, I guarantee you they'd be assassinated literally within a year.
Okay, so basically you and I have two different religions. I don't know what influence it has on you or me. I tend to think independently of religion, but to me, getting back to Roe versus Wade, I agree with what you said. Some laws have to be improved upon.
I think most of our laws that are founded upon those original pieces of paper need to be reset. And when I say reset, I mean we look at that old paper and go, okay, yeah, this is accurate. Oh, we're all created equal. Great, keep that. This I find that, throw it away. This keep, and I think we need to make a new one. The problem is I do not trust a single politician on either end well, actually that's false. There are a couple politicians that I do trust. But most of them I do not trust to make this new document. And that's the problem. Because we want this change, but the people who are supposed to enact this change, we can't trust any of them outside of like 4. And so we're in a predicament because those 4 can't do it themselves.
You see, the problem that exists is politicians are governed by votes. And
Right.
I do not want a dominating religion to influence policies that are created or passed on by politicians.
Yeah.
Because, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, every one of our religions has a different viewpoint as far as abortion is concerned.
It's always.
I saw
Oh, go ahead.
I saw on by The Guardian on Apple News. Apple News picked it up at by The Handmaid's Tale author Margaret Atwood.
Yeah.
She made an interesting comment that enforced childbirth is slavery.
Agreed.
And it's slavery because, down in the South, what did a Southern plantation owner consider part of his wealth?
Oh, his legacy, his children, his wife.
No, what was lying in the field? Slaves.
Oh, okay.
When a slave, besides his normal wealth, if his slave
in my head, that was his normal wealth because he's a slave owner.
Yeah, and if his slaves had babies, that became part of his legacy, part of his wealth, and he didn't care if they had babies. He took care of them, by the way. If he was a good,
because it was just more slaves.
Yeah, more slaves for him. But one of the key factors with Roe versus Wade, if it allows for abortion, a woman can go and get an abortion, regardless of what her financial status is. But if you tell her she can't, who's going to pay for her to have the baby when it's born, take care of the baby, all the bills that come in? Now the baby, if she doesn't want to keep it, goes to a foundling home or wherever it goes. Maybe it'll be lucky to be picked up by a loving parents who need children, or wealthy parents. If it's a white baby, they'll probably, and cute, maybe get adopted, unless some movie star is searching for a black baby to have around, saying, "Hey, I got a black baby."
Yeah, I know.
But who's going to force, pick up the costs and the mental anguish of a woman who has to have a baby because the state or the federal government says that she can't have it?
Well, because it's not about them. They were just saying recently, whatever the hell it is, the domestic infant utility or whatever bullshit name they came up with, to basically say that women are or should be machines to produce more because the whites are becoming minorities in America. And that because we're dipping into the minority, we need to force women to have babies so that we can have whatever, like we can have the majority again, whatever bullshit. But what's always such an interesting thing for me is the people who just don't recognize it, or if they do, they refuse to acknowledge things like, people say, oh, the church and state are separate. Meanwhile, on our fucking dollar bill, we have "In God We Trust." What? That's, first of all, that's religion on our dollar, our literal government dollars and our coins. So that's first things first. Second thing, if religion isn't in our politics, then I would love to hear any pro-life politician discuss it without involving God or involving morals that align with their Bible. Because I know they can say, oh, they won't say the word God, but what they'll do is just quote the Bible without quoting the word God. So take all that out, all of that, and then tell me where their argument stands. Because there is no argument. It's purely based on their subjective response of their little journal that their guy wrote. And I have one other point that I was gonna make. That again, with these types of people, they are not pro-life. They're not pro-life because if they were pro-life, they would want healthcare for all. They would think food is a human right. They would adopt instead of having kids, because there's a ridiculous number of infants and orphans in America that are just chilling out in houses and not getting adopted. So you're pro-life, go be pro-life. Free healthcare, food, adopt, and a slew of other things that can be provided as pro-life. Not stricter gun laws, but different gun laws. And various other things. But they will completely disagree with those. But all of a sudden, a fetus is very, very important to them. It is truly, truly extraordinary, the hoops that they will jump through to provide their arguments that are so obviously just their hypocritical religion having a stranglehold on them. And they believe they're doing God's work by forcing women to have kids that can literally kill them at times. And then in their minds, they write it off as, oh, well, that's what God intended. Okay.
Yeah,
awful.
Yeah, there's a show on TV called Young Sheldon.
Oh, yeah.
And the older brother, who's 17, comes home and he says his older girlfriend, who's in her 20s, got pregnant. And the first reaction by his mother, who's a holy roller, is, oh my God, what is the church going to think?
Yeah.
What is Chris going to think?
Yeah.
All her Bible group, I know this is fantasy, but all her Bible group doesn't want anything to do with her.
Well, it's a fantasy, but it's also a commentary on what's around us. That's like a lot of TV shows.
Yeah. The father, in return, looks at his son and says, basically, how can I help you?
Right.
Okay. So to modern day parents, I don't know what they would say. Would they help their daughter? Because certainly men don't get pregnant. Would the daughter be able to go home and say to their parent, Mom and Dad, I'm pregnant? Without the father saying, who's the man? I'm going to kill him. Or
right.
I won't be accepted in this neighborhood anymore because the church won't accept me. Or the people in my religion won't accept me, But I don't know what the modern viewpoint is today. But I just feel that it's probably split about 50-50 along the lines of abortion and non-abortion. I know they're, walking around protesting against the elimination of Roe v. Wade. But again, probably sitting in their offices, scratching their heads right now are the politicians weighing where will they get the most votes and
Of course.
where will they lose the most votes, you know.
Of course.
So it's very difficult to make a decision about if you're going to become pro-life or, you know, whether or not you want to, because you have to know what are they adding to these laws first. Pro-choice, like I said, I'm pro-choice with an addendum. So if each state started having their own rules, and again, like we said in the beginning, you don't know where you can travel. Poor people may not have a car. Poor people may not have money to travel if they have to travel to a state. If Roe v. Wade gets shot down.
Well, but here's the thing. It's going to go beyond that, because what it'll end up being is it's going to be the North versus the South again, and we'll end up with another civil war, because it's going to be the red versus the blue. That's what it's going to be. Because if you've got a place like New Jersey, who Governor Murphy has openly said he will protect people who need abortions, and they will not release medical information if you have to travel to New Jersey to get abortions. He has openly made that a statement.
But you know how
people like him,
that?
What?
You know how it goes beyond that?
No, but what I was saying is that you're going to have these states, and it's going to be Texas and Florida versus New Jersey and New York.
Yeah, but here's how it goes beyond that. We don't know it will, but hopefully it won't. A person in a non-abortion state travels with their child to a place to have an abortion, another state, and a neighbor reports that that child or that woman went out of state to get an abortion, and they come back to living in the state, they can be accused of breaking the law.
Right.
You know, I'm not an attorney. So this is a very complex issue. And again, I just hope it doesn't become, like you had mentioned, the stepping stone to challenging same-sex marriage, interracial marriage, contraception, reversing the Brown Board of Education, and, you know, women's rights in general. Right now, we fought so hard for women's rights. I'm a big women advocate, and I hate to see this go by the wayside. That's all I have to say on this matter.
It's so interesting, because when it comes to the fact that we now have social media and we have these things, even if something like that were to happen, let's say all of a sudden condoms were banned, IUDs are banned, and the pill was banned, and you literally, the only thing you can do is just have unprotected sex and hope to God you don't get someone pregnant. There are natural remedies that can help with like what would be a morning after pill. And all you got to do is just post that on Facebook and Instagram, and great, now I've got a free version. And like, what are they going to do? Start banning food? You know what I mean? The whole concept just, it gets out of hand. And I don't think that the government across the board, the US, would just outright ban like birth control pills and stuff like that, because birth control pills have other purposes outside of just protect like sex. It's for menstrual issues as well, and hormone balancing issues for women. But overall, yeah, now that we have the internet and things like that, we can connect in a different way. It really does dismantle a lot of this bullshit that would or used to work. So removing something like the pill can very, very quickly have an alternative through natural means or through other means, because it'll just go viral on the internet. All the kids will share it, and the law basically becomes obsolete within a year.
Well, I think it gets even worse than that. We talk about bullying, okay, on the internet. So a woman gets pregnant, and she, like I said, goes for an abortion, comes back, that can go right on to social media. And she snitched on, basically.
Right. Yeah. Well, exactly like I was saying, the remedy with the pill, the reverse can happen as well. 100%.
And,
So it makes for a very volatile situation because it's no longer just little circumstances. Anything, small, big, or medium, can become the biggest topic in America in a day. It just
yeah,
depends on how many people share it and like it and comment on it.
yeah. And,
And
taking a birth control pill before sex, taking the pill after sex, if they consider that the pill after sex an abortion, which many people are saying it's an abortion, uh, two girls talking to one another who are friends, all of a sudden they're not friends. We're talking about bullying. The one that wants to get the other one in trouble goes on to the social media.
yeah.
And now it's not just bullying. Now, if this becomes a problem, a law against having abortions in that particular state, the person go to jail.
Yeah, well, and it's like that whatever state that was a few months back that offered $10,000 for anyone who got an abortion to rat out the person and the doctor. I don't remember what state that was, but they offered a 10 grand bounty for if anyone got an abortion and you were the one to rat out the doctor and the person. Like
Mhm.
it's such a ridiculous thing.
Yeah, let me tell you, I had told you this funny story. It was funny for me as a teenager. I won't mention the doctor's name. I don't even know if he's alive, but I don't want to get into trouble. But I remember I used to go to a doctor, and I went to this doctor until I was about 17. And so did my parents. My parents had stopped, and I asked them why. They said, "Yeah, we want to go to another doctor." So they went to another doctor. I love this doctor. He was funny, outspoken. He had a brother that was very dry, But I used to go to this doctor, and he used to say to me, "Al, so how you doing?" I used to say, "So and so's bothering me." He treated. He said, and then he took the time to sit with me. When we used to talk, he used to go, "How's your sex life? You got a girlfriend?" I can tell you about the girls who are hot, who are coming into my office and, telling me things that he shouldn't be telling me.
Right. He's
Because,
breaking HIPAA laws, which I don't know if they were a thing back then.
yeah, well, no, he just wanted to be cool. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, but he
So
was, yeah.
then I realized, well, my parents wouldn't go there because in Jewish, we have an expression, he was a yenta. A yenta is someone who talks about everybody else's business.
Yeah. And so
Yeah,
he didn't want your parents didn't want him talking about their business. Got it.
right. Not that they had anything they were ashamed of, but
No, but nonetheless, you don't,
yeah,
it's your doctor. You're supposed to have confidence
right.
that he's not like gossiping about your junk.
Yeah, I mean, I used to talk to my friend Stu. We used to go to the same doctor. We're still friends today. And I mean, we used to find out who were the loose girls, and all
Right,
that
right.
stuff. So again, it was different times. And the point, what I'm alluding to is that was our social media. Who would talk about somebody else,
Yeah,
word to word, mouth to
right. It
mouth?
had to be word of mouth.
Yeah. And to me, I want to see where Roe versus Wade goes. And I hope, as you said before, this is not a stepping stone to change all the other things I discussed.
I hope it's not either. I have one last thing I want to say, and then we can end it if you want. Uh, and this was something I was telling my mom and I was telling Lenny uh, the other day that I don't know. It definitely needs to be worked out a little better. But this was a concept. So you and I have spoken about how like politicians should not be allowed to be politicians past whatever, like 60. Um, I don't know why I came up with this or why it hit my brain, but it was something I was thinking about recently. Um, So you know how the legal age to vote is 18 in America. I think we should do, adding to that, we should do the reverse. The last 18 years of your life, or the expected life, shouldn't be allowed to vote. So the way I would explain that,
Ooh.
hold on. The way I would explain that is first 18 years, you're not allowed to vote. Somehow they still get representation. They still need to be cared for, and they still need things, education, food, healthcare, and all such. And their votings do affect them. Take the life expectancy of America, subtract 18, and that's the last year you can vote. And I think there would be, and mind you, when I say last year you can vote, I would argue participate in politics. So that involves being a politician, that involves being president and governor and mayor. Anything politics stops 18 years before life expectancy. Now,
I want to
this,
stop you right here. I agree. I agreed with you before. At a certain age, you shouldn't hold a political position.
yeah.
Don't take away my right to vote, because my vote might be wiser than your vote.
So, but the reason I'm bringing this out is because for a couple of reasons. One, it will remove a significant amount of these Christian old white guys that are trying to vote and continue their stupid laws that they're trying to pass. Number two, the life expectancy in America is 79.72 years, which means that's apparently the life expectancy. I Googled it yesterday.
Oh my God.
So let's round it up to 80.
Thank you. Don't round it down.
No, round it up to 80, okay? Subtract 18, that's 62. That's, some people say that's pretty young. I would argue, and here's the thing where it comes into play. You may live till you're 100. Oh well, because by going off of the life expectancy, not what people are living to, it will force American healthcare to then prolong life. We'll say, great, we want older people to vote more. We want to move that gap a little more. Let's get it to 72. So let's get the life expectancy up to 90. Great. Okay, sure. You want to do that? Cool. But currently the life expectancy is at 80. So minus 18 would be 62, which would mean that at 62 is the last year that you would be able to vote, participate in politics, and so forth.
That's bad. That's bad, because what happens if the federal government or the state government then takes the next position? Okay, at age 75, we give all us old people a pill, because we're anchors on life and society, and that's it.
But my question though is, I understand what you're getting at, but my question is, what about the kids and the young adults who are being represented by people and have no right to vote?
You're mixing two things. I agree that there's too many terms served by older politicians. I would like to see a cutoff age for politicians. I don't want to see all these oldies in office with possibly the same old frickin' ideas.
Yeah.
But don't start mixing in the right to vote, because just like we're talking about Roe versus Wade as a stepping stone to change laws, once you start taking away our right to vote, no matter what our age is, we're no longer a democracy. And in my eyes,
So,
no
but my question then still stands. What about 14, 15, 16, and 17? Why they don't have the right to vote? Why aren't they allowed to vote?
Because they're not considered mentally mature enough to vote.
So what about the 75-year-old? What about the lady and the doctors who've outwardly come out and said that they have treated multiple politicians with Alzheimer's? Doesn't matter that, hold on. doesn't matter that they're in politics. They can still vote. They're not mentally mature enough to handle voting.
Okay, so
They have,
what they should do, it's like in Florida, you don't have to go for an eye test. I don't believe anymore, I'm not sure. It might be every 5 years. I haven't gone for an eye test in Florida. Jesus, I don't remember how long. And I'm
at a certain point, it doesn't matter unless you're at a rapid decline in eyesight. You
Yeah.
really like, it doesn't matter.
Maybe you should have to go when you get to a certain age and get a clarity certificate from your doctor. I just never.
But that's my point. Now because because I'm simply going off of what you said, which is that they're not mentally mature. So then let's discuss all of the people who are 65 and older who have various mental health issues, dementia, Alzheimer's, and what have you, and they're voting. They're still voting. You've got 90-year-olds who call Black people by slave names because they're in old homes and they are so dementia ridden that they think they're on a slave plantation.
Well, I agree
and they
with
vote.
I agree with you with that, but I'm sharper and probably more intelligent than 90% of 14-year-olds.
Oh, I agree. But my point stands with that. And also the whole 18-year thing. What that would do, in my opinion, is allow people like you to then become teachers again, because that's what it used to be. That's what it used to be. We used to look to elders for education. So rather than elders imposing their thought, like imposing their votes and things like that, they can then become teachers and people can come to them and we can learn.
Peter, what's the name of our podcast?
Talking with my grandpa before he croaks.
Okay. I taught for 33 years. If I had to go back to teach, you could say, talking with my grandfather, he just croaked.
Well, but that's your choice. You don't have to, but that's where the foundation for that comes from. And my mom said it very clearly. It's ageist. Yeah, it is. But so is not giving the youth the right to vote or at least participate. Even if they don't need to necessarily vote, they have no say in anything. They're not even considered. There's a significant reason why our education system is god-awful. There's a significant reason why there's a ridiculous amount of orphans. And there's a significant reason why we can't give students free lunches for kids who can't afford it.
Okay, so let's say I have average intelligence.
Okay.
Let's say I have average intelligence.
Okay.
And I got 1 vote. And I'm 77, going to be 78 in 2 months.
Okay.
And somebody else is in their 20s. And they're downright shit stupid. They got 1 vote. So I also think that education, not just whether you have Alzheimer's or age, education.
I see what you're getting at. I see what you're getting at is, yes, there are a significant amount of people who are in their youth, 20s, early 20s, early mid 20s, and even the teens, 18, 19, who are significantly stupid. I would argue I am extremely stupid when it comes to politics. As much as I may know, I know very fucking little. I physically can't keep up with it, and I don't have the capacity because it's so much negativity that I physically will get ill if I try and pay attention to it all. So by all means, I understand that there are stupid people on that end, and that there may be some old people or older people that help cancel that out. I understand, but I think that there is a significant and more impactful number of older people that are simply trying to protect what they used to live like, which was the 50s, which is Roe v. Wade and removing stuff like that. And I think by removing that section, there would be an attempt at a more progressive thought and political verse, because there would be less people trying to push traditionalism and there would be more progressive thoughts. Even if it's in the wrong direction, it's okay because at least there's a conversation about it. Currently, we can't even have progressive conversations because we have old Christian white men who refuse to move forward with anything. Because if it doesn't fit their traditional agenda from when they were 15 and able to rape a woman and get away with it, and then go to church and act like nothing happened, they don't want it.
Or get absolution.
Right. They don't want it. They want control and power over everything and anything that they can. And they want to be the majority. And it's all a big power shift and complex that's an issue. So that's the foundation of where my mind is coming from. Obviously, like I said, it's something that would need to be worked. It's not like I have this all thought out. It was something I thought of like a day and a half ago.
Yeah.
But it's a direction that furthers what we used to talk about, which was, I think politicians shouldn't be any after the age of like 60, you shouldn't be allowed to be a politician. Even that's arguably too much. I would think younger, or maybe different levels, like maybe at the state level you can be 55 to 60. At the presidential level you can't be more than 50. At the whatever, like maybe there's different levels, I don't know, but that's the core of where this comes from.
Yeah, so basically, what it comes down to, sometimes laws have to be improved upon, but laws should not, whether it's Roe versus Wade or anything else, shouldn't create such havoc that it tears our country apart. Because to me, I look at what's happening in so many different areas of our country, and we did a podcast, is America headed to the crapper?
Yeah.
And to me, America is still the greatest country in the world, although we're starting to fall apart, and I disagree with so many things now that are happening. But then again, I see what other things are happening outside our country. I don't know. So yes, laws need to be changed if you can improve upon them. If you're just going to make things worse, leave them. Better think it out. Better think it out. So that's the way I'm going to end it. As they say, stupid is as stupid does. And we got a lot of politicians who are downright stupid. And
well, and that's on both sides. That's not just like one or the other. Because I'm full agreement that both sides have some very stupid politicians.
Yeah, like you brought up in past podcasts. All it takes is X amount of dollars, and I'm not going to go into that area now because we have a time limit, to clear up the bad water situation or clear up the homeless situation. Yet instead of sending troops to the Ukraine, which I'm glad we're not, we're sending, supposedly, if it gets approved, $40 billion.
$42 billion.
Billion.
Yeah.
You know what that could do in the United States for other things? So
it would end homelessness and bring clean water to all of America, and we would still have around $8 to $10 billion left.
Yeah. So throw that into care for women who, if the laws change where abortions are illegal, but give them medical care to help them in the process, that would be maybe an improvement, even though, people may not agree with what's, taking away abortion rights.
I don't think it's an improvement. I think it's a sidestep. It does nothing. It doesn't, because you're still enforcing them to have kids. Doesn't matter how much health care you give them, because if the child if the woman is told by a doctor that she will die by having this child, and there is nothing that the hospital can do, with no
Yeah.
amount of healthcare, you're still sending her to her death. It's still a death march. So
Right. No, what I'm saying is, it's against the law, so she's afraid to go to the hospital because she'll break the law.
Yeah.
And the hospital has to take in anybody these days if you go to the hospital, whether you have insurance or not, supposedly. But
yeah, but then they just bill you, and then you end up in jail because you didn't pay the bill. So
yeah. So
by the way,
anyway,
I'm going to throw this in real quick for anyone just as a fun little tidbit regarding hospitals. If you're ever in the hospital and you have a really expensive bill, you ask for an itemized receipt. By asking for an itemized receipt, you are asking for a receipt that says everything they charged you for. Because hospitals have a tendency to charge you $100 for one Tylenol pill or $75 for a Band-Aid. When you ask for that itemized bill, it forces them to then charge you actual prices. And on significant occasions, people have apparently, I haven't done it myself yet because I haven't been to the hospital recently, have apparently reduced their hospital bills by thousands of dollars. So itemized receipt next time you're in the hospital. There you go.
okay. So everybody stay well, don't get pregnant unless
Yeah.
unless you want to. And to my fellow males, no matter what your ethnicity is, don't let the little head get your big head in trouble.
Nice. And with that, we'll say peace out.
Peace out.